Good morning, everyone. Welcome to lesson 314. If you are joining us from home today, we are going to be tackling problem 33, 34, and 35. And what you'll notice is we have a table, and this is a class graph. Okay, I want you to notice today we are focusing on completing tables and drawing graphs. So far, we've been looking at tables and going to rules. We've been looking at rules, going to tables. And so right now, we're going to focus on going from a table to the graph. Table to the graph. And so we're going to use this first problem to talk about how to go from a table to a graph. So all you are responsible for is starting off by writing our rule, y equals 2x. Okay, now this is a rule that we're starting off with, and what we do with a rule is we apply the x value. These are all the x values, and we apply the rule times 2 to find the y value. Now we've talked that a table always begins at 0. Okay, so I'm going to multiply this out. So I have y equals 2 times 0. And if you wanted to write this a bunch of times because you need to do the math a bunch of times, that's fine. But it's really up to you how much you want to write this out and how much you want to do this in your head. So I need to start off with y is 2 times 0. What is 2 times 0? Oh yeah, 0. What is 2 times 1? Let's see, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 2 is 4. 2 times 3 is 6. 2 times 4 is 8. I could start working in the opposite direction. Negative 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. And I could keep going, but I want you to notice a pattern. Mathematics is the study of patterns. I notice that it's growing by 2. Each time it's growing by 2. So if it's growing by 2, going to the right, getting bigger, I could use the opposite, going back, subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2, subtract 2. Now I want you to notice I've completed my table. Make sure that your table has these same numbers. Now I want you to notice that your table has more numbers to it. Go ahead and complete all those numbers. Okay, complete all those numbers. Now, something that we need to remember about tables. In a table, you're going to write this somewhere off to the side, in the margin, off to the, like maybe in the upper right-hand corner, there's room. In a table, x is left, and I'm going to put a negative, or right, which is positive. So I want you to notice all of these negatives say to the left. If you want to draw arrows to remind yourself, that's good. If you want to write next to the positives, that's to the right. See, mathematicians are lazy. I mean, efficient. See, we don't put direction because we want you to know the direction. It's kind of like when you come to a intersection in your car and you know inherently that green means go, yellow means slow, and red means stop, right? You know the symbols mean something. Here in mathematics, symbols mean something. So in a table, x is left if it's negative, right if it's positive, and y is up for positive or down when it's negative. Okay, this is a simple reminder of how to graph coordinates. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's graph a couple of these coordinates. So if a table always begins at 0, a graph always begins at the origin, 0, 0, right here. 0, 0. Okay? And then I like to read a table to the right. So I'm going to do 1 positive, 2 positive. Now, you don't draw the line, you just put a point. Okay, do 2. 2 right, 4 up. You don't draw the line, but I'm showing you how I'm getting these. 3, you go to the right and up. Now, I want you to notice each time I start back at the origin. Now to do my negatives. -1, -2, and I put a dot. -2, -4, and I put a dot. -3, -6, and I put a dot. Now this creates our line. Now I want you to notice you don't have a graph. All you needed to do was watch that. You need to know today how we go from the rule to the table, from the table to the graph. It's kind of like in language arts where you use words to make a sentence. You use a sentence to make an essay. You use a sentence to make a paragraph to make an essay. You have to build, you have to go through a sequence. Same thing happens in mathematics. So the first problem that we are going to do is problem 334. And I want you to notice the rule y equals 2x plus 1. Please write it now. Rule, y equals 2x plus 1. On your paper, I want you to write. You have a bunch of space off to the right-hand side. I want you to write y equals 2 parentheses plus 1. And I want you to write this, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. Okay. Don't you wish you had a copy and paste feature? Wouldn't that be nice? Okay, so you have this written down 4 or 5 times because we need to take the rule and make a table. That's step 1. Rule to table. Here we go. Where does a table always begin? At 0. I always start with 0. So I think, what is 2 times 0? Well, multiplication has no power over 0. So 2 times 0 is 0, plus 1, 1. 2 times 1. Well, 2 times 1 is 2. 2 plus 1 is 3. And we continue. If you would like to pause the video to complete this table, please do so now. All right, let's go ahead and look at your answers. Now, I'm not doing all the math right now. What I want you to notice on is the pattern. I notice that it grows by 2. By the way, is it a coincidence that it's growing by 2? I don't think so. All right. If it's growing by 2 going to the positive direction, how do I work back? Well, I subtract 2. 1 minus 2, minus 2, minus 2, minus 2. And notice that I have a completed table. Now remember, where does the table always begin? At 0. So I'm going to graph that point first. 0, no side, up 1. And you put a dot. 1, 3. Right 1, up 3. Plot the point. I want you to graph the remaining points now. Please pause the video. All right, welcome back. You should have plotted all of your points. And once you have plotted your points, what I want you to do is go ahead and draw a line through it, just like we drew a line through it in 33. Okay, draw a line through it. Now, a couple things that I want you to notice about this graph. I want you to notice that this graph started at 0, 1. What a coincidence! It started at 0, 1. Multiplication has no power over 0, and it ends up at 1. How curious, what a coincidence. And I want you to notice that it grew by 2. Notice it went up 2 over 1. Up 2 over 1. How curious that that happened in this problem. Now, remember, when we're doing this, we are going from a rule to a table, from a table to a rule. That is what we are practicing today. So, our last problem of today looks like this. We are going to take our rule. Y equals -3 times plus 1. And you're going to write this 4, 5, 10 times, however many times it takes you to notice the pattern in the table. And I do my math. I say, okay, where does the table always begin? At 0. So I focus on 0. Negative times 0, still 0, plus 1. Okay, next number. 1 times -3 is -3 plus 1. A lot of times people think, oh, plus 1, that's addition. No, it's not. Okay? This add sign, people want to say, oh, add, it's 4. No. What we need to do is we need to recognize that -3 plus 1, that's subtraction to get -2. Now, once you have this table completed, you're going to graph 0, 1. You're going to graph 1, -2, and put a dot. Please plot your points, draw your line. Okay? Go ahead, complete the table, draw your line. This is going to conclude today's lesson. Notice that there's a homework problem for 337 that's practicing this exact same skill. Today we practiced going from a rule to a table, from a table to a graph. Thanks for tuning in today. We'll see you tomorrow.